peacock scent. New fashion wear for men.
Ayush, we've been walking around for ages. Where is Strand Bookstore?
I promise you it's somewhere over here. It's these lanes, these crowded lanes.
That's what you said along that lane, Ayush, and the lane before that.
And that's how Fort is, Alex. It's the busiest, oldest commercial district of Mumbai, and it's one of these places. In fact, I think it's one of this. Is this the one? I'm not quite sure.
Hi, ma'am. Where's Strand Bookstore?
Right here. Right here.
Ayush, we found it.
We found it.
So have you been coming here very often?
Very often. Not much, far more often than I should. It's a drain on the money, but it's a big help on the brain.
Oh, is it? So I've heard a lot about Strand. Of course, the fact that it's closing down now, but it's 70 years old. How long is your
73.
So your association has been with Strand since then, since when you were a kid? When were you first at Strand?
At Strand bookstore at Strand Cinema.
So that was the original Strand.
Strand. And my father used to take me. My father was an inveterate book lover.
Okay.
I mean, he'd flood the house with books on the bed, under the bed, in the hall. Till my mother wanted to say, either you or the books.
Either you or the books. I've never heard that, Ayush, have you?
No, that's usually it's the dog or you, one of the two. But ma'am, I want to understand something. When it comes to something as iconic as Strand Bookstore shutting down, and you look at everyone our age and all these kids nowadays with these Kindles and digital readers, how do you feel?
I feel sad because there's nothing like holding a real book in your hands, smelling it, feeling it, looking at the pages one by one, and I think you touch a book, you feel a book, is quite different from a Kindle. I hate Kindle.
This place has some amazing memories, and that's exactly what we're going to go in to capture right now.
Ayush, this is the iconic Strand Bookstore. Have you been here before?
Oh, every weekend of my childhood life was spent right here.
What was your favorite place?
Bro, the whole place is perhaps there's some memory everywhere. I remember some times when I've fought with friends, fought with family because I wanted something over here. There's children's section and more intellectual section.
This is the children's section.
It used to be back then. We have to have a look and speak to a few more people over here because there's so many people considering this place is shutting down. There's so many people who've come to relive some of those memories. It's nostalgia for all of us.
And there are several books that are available at a significant discount, is what I've heard.
But Alex, that was the case with this place always. Everything was always on a 20% discount, or there was some sort of coupon that you got from school, or there was some sort of a sale going on, because it was not about I don't think the mission to this place was all about well, hey, let's make a commercial establishment. It was, hey, let's spread the love for reading.
Yeah, I mean, you can have I don't think there's any sense of, okay, so I think it's been categorized on the basis of the discounts. So I say 50% off there.
And there's 50 rupees
the,
there.
well,
Just 50 rupees flat rate.
We should speak to a few people.
yeah. Excuse me,
Hi, man. Hi.
take a minute.
We're doing a show on BloombergQuint, considering this iconic place is shutting down. We want to just document what everyone's memories are like. Have you been here before?
Oh yes, I was first introduced to Strand Bookstall when I was working with Forum of Free Enterprise, Mr. M.R. Pai.
Okay.
And Mr. Shanbag had, I believe, published a book by Nani Palkhiwala.
Of course, the veteran lawyers
Yes.
of all time.
So that was my first introduction, and this is, I'm saying, way back in the 80s. So it's been part of our it's actually very much part of, more to do with my daughter's life, I think. At age 10, we live in the suburbs.
Okay.
And at age 10, on her 10th birthday, it happens to be in Feb,
Okay.
just gone past actually. It was on a public holiday. So it would be an annual thing between the two of us. So we would come to town,
Okay.
take a cab, come to town, first stop Strand Bookstall. That's how I got introduced her to books.
Wow.
And then we'd go to the other, maybe one of the other places, the eating place.
You'd essentially make an event out of it.
This was it. It's like a annual pilgrimage for us.
But does it sadden you now that that pilgrimage is sort of it's not going to be the same because this bookstore, I mean there will be bookstores in the city and
Yes,
around the
of
country, but
course.
this one will cease to exist.
Or do you think it was an eventuality?
It was beginning. No, I wouldn't say it was an eventuality. No, not quite. It's not that love for reading, the thing of books, of knowledge and reading and stuff like that is not dying anywhere. So yeah,
It's just
this
the medium
store,
I get.
yes.
It's just the medium I get.
So this was it. Every year we've been coming here. Every year. She's just turned 21. And she's not here. She moved out to college. So I'm here actually to pick up one last book for her.
So
She sent me
if
that.
she's watching, well, your mommy's here doing the shopping for you.
She just sent me one. In fact, on her 18th birthday, she moved out to college. So I gifted her a Kindle.
Okay.
Thinking like, okay, she needs to do this. 6 months later, end of semester, she comes back with that whole thing intact. The packaging, and she says, no, I love my books. Let's go to Strand.
That's sweet. That's
I don't want
that's so sweet. We'll leave you to your shopping and to relive all the nostalgia. But thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Speaking to us.
I think even as a kid, right, there was that one book that you wanted that you perhaps couldn't get. At least that was the case for me. And I'd go and I'd look at it every day and maybe read 20 pages and then come back the next day.
No, but and that's the best part, right? There are places where if you go gallivanting or window shopping or browsing, it's not allowed. Over here, since you were a kid, I remember no one stopped you. You could sit in one corner for 2 hours, read a book, and then go home. No one stopped you.
No, because for example, I remember the Lord of the Rings, which my mom said she would never buy.
Okay,
Yeah, and it was this huge book, and I remember that over the course of 6 months, I kept going back every 2-3 days to a bookstore very similar to
And
this.
sometimes when I wanted to really, get my friends really irate and angry with me, I wanted to beat them because I read very slowly. I used to read from the back, so I could tell them what the climax of the book was. But there's some interesting memories. And hey, hi. We're just doing a show. So my name's Aayush. I work with BloombergQuint. This is Alex.
Hi.
We want to find out, is this your first trip to Strand bookstore?
No, it's my second, but I don't live in Bombay.
Okay,
I
where are you
live in
from?
Delhi.
From Delhi. So where in Delhi do you live? Which part of Delhi?
I live in South Delhi.
So because I grew up in South Delhi as
right.
well, and I remember my memories in Delhi were Texans bookstore,
Or
NGK, right?
Midlands.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is your second trip. I mean, you do read a lot, I'm guessing, because you know about these bookstores. Can you sense that all the memories and that piece of history over here?
It is really sad. I was actually just looking at Twitter today about everyone talking about the
Yeah.
different memories they've had.
Yeah.
I think we need to move into a world where we make room for both the convenient, and the physical. I think there's always going to be space for bookstores for people who like to browse and discover their next book, as opposed to online where you look exactly for what you want and then you find it, right? So
Yeah, and when it comes to, we were just talking, we're talking to some people out here, and there's a lot of people with memories from 50, 60 years ago, because this has existed since then. But the fact being that we were talking to someone right now who said, hey, you know what, I've gifted my daughter a Kindle, and she doesn't even use it. She prefers the paper book. Is that the same for you? Because in our generation, I think Alex and I read everything on our iPads and iPhones. We've stopped reading.
No, I mean, I'd like to. I
He's
don't
from
agree.
another generation.
No, I disagree, because I do read a lot on my phone, but I have my favorite books is physical copies.
Yeah, but how
right?
often do you read them?
I do. I mean, I've gone through the entire Wheel of Time series again. And it's 14 books.
Okay, so you've gotten her approval, but is it the same with you, or do you also end up reading things online a lot more now?
I actually just read in general
Okay.
a lot. So I love my Kindle for when I'm traveling, which is also frequently.
Okay.
And I like because since I read so fast, I don't like carrying 10 books with me in my suitcase. So my Kindle for when I'm out, and my regular books for when I'm at home.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Enjoy your shopping experience. But Alice, it's beautiful. I think what we should be doing is that, considering this place is shutting down, we should go and perhaps speak to the owner,
proprietor, yes.
the proprietor. So Alex, usually it's a walk down memory lane, but to walk down memory lane, I'll make you climb up a staircase.
Okay. I think she's upstairs.
Let's go upstairs.
Very rustic feel.
That's the beauty of it.
Hi, Vidya.
Oh,
We're from
hi.
Ayush, Alex. We're from BloombergQuint.
Yes, hi.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
So we actually met some of your oldest clients.
downstairs.
Yeah.
Yes, I can believe that.
They remember the old store.
And they have some very fond memories of the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so we actually wanted to have a conversation with you. The fact
Right.
that this has been such an iconic location in Mumbai, and we want to understand really the journey that you've had personally, and also what your father set out to do.
Right.
From you know, what really to start right at the start.
To start right.
Right at the start, where did
Yeah.
it begin?
Well, it really began with a very, very, poor student coming to Xavier's, okay, for higher education. And he used to buy a penguin a month. And what happened is he was turned away once by an officious salesperson in the shop. He said, either you buy the book, no browsing.
Okay.
So that was the wonderful thing that happened to him, which hurt him so badly that it made him cogitate on the principles of books and reading and bookselling. And he decided then to open his own bookshop somehow and to get started on a journey where he would make books affordable for people as much as he could, and also never turn away somebody for browsing.
That's very interesting there, because when you consider Mumbai, and he wasn't from Mumbai originally.
No.
And it's just the way Mumbai functions, right? It's so fast paced.
Yes.
It's so practical that
Yeah.
this no browsing, no gallivanting, no window shopping is a very normal thing.
Yeah.
And that was the genesis of all of this.
It was.
This legacy.
Yes. In fact, very often you do find that it's perversity, that leads you to,
Yes.
rejection. Rejection in some.
And adversity.
Yeah, adversity, not perversity. Sorry, adversity that leads you to something really, innovative.
Yeah.
You want to do something completely to support what it was that you didn't like.
So, if I understand correctly, from the very nice lady that we spoke to just a short
Yeah.
while back, it started off with just a couple of
Shelves. Yes.
And this was at Strand Cinema, which I don't know about.
So after a lot of cogitation, he said, how do I start a shop? I cannot afford a space. Yes, so he innovated actually.
So rent was a problem back then?
Yes, rent. He was a student.
Right.
Yes, and he had no family here. They were all in Karnataka.
Right.
And so the thing is, he thought innovatively. He went to Strand Cinema, which was perhaps the only cinema house in those days. 1948 is what we're talking about. That's when they were showing English films there. Okay, and one thing he knew is that a lot of English-speaking gentry of the day were going for English films. So gentry of Indian origin, of course, and so he asked the manager whether he could erect 2 shelves in a corner in the lounge where people could actually come and browse, where he could sort of start a little book stall. And the man, Mr. Keki Modi, an old doughty Parsi gentleman, was so impressed with his fervor that he said, young man, I'll construct the 2 shelves for you.
Oh, lovely. And
That was the genesis
in
of
less than a
the store.
decade, though, he moved here.
Yes, in about not even a decade, 8 years or so. So there, the top families of the time, the Birlas, the Tatas, the Godrejas, the 3 generations before, they were visiting to see English films, and then he started keeping some very choice English books, which he spoke about and told them why the books are so nice. And so they started enjoying this and buying books. And that's how they started actually, without realizing it, became very, very fond of this bookseller and started relying on him more and more to recommend and bring in good books.
So it was the personalization and him being a great salesperson as well.
Yeah, and knowledgeable. So, where this fount of knowledge came from, it has to be through reading.
Right.
And it also had to be through a real interest in, the intellectual.
Yes.
And, also, and that gave him the inner confidence to speak to the likes of these people who were obviously way above him in station in life,
Yeah, yeah.
So this is what it was. And then finally, one thing led to another, and with just, he's a very clean young man recommendation. He got this place for free.
Okay.
With just a rent that he had to pay month on month. And before he knew it, it's like the universe had thrown open the doors of this beautiful little shop, which must have seemed to him like a dream, because from 2 shelves which he can't own, a space he can't own, to a place where he can display so many books.
And perhaps one of the busiest districts of Mumbai
Yeah.
as well.
South Mumbai was the main place.
It was Bombay.
That was Bombay. There was nothing else beyond a certain, sort of perimeter.
I believe the other was the absolute limit.
Absolutely, that's right.
It still is. but Vidya, another thing that I want to talk to you about was that over the years, there's been some very interesting people who visited this store.
Yeah.
And it's a long, illustrious list. Are there any particular, I know the list is endless, but are there any particular instances that you remember or something that your
Has
dad
been
told
told, oh yes, over and over. These are instances that have been played to me as well as to by many customers to me.
Yeah.
One of the stellar ones was, of course, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I mean, nothing could have gone back further than that. I think his sister lived in Bombay. And you see, those days, don't forget, it was newly independent India.
Yes.
We were just independent by a year or so. That's it. So I truly believe that Dad's purpose in life was actually to bring erudition, to bring the outside world through the English written word to newly independent India's intellectual.
Okay.
So this is exactly the role I feel that he had in life, and this is how it started.
So Pandit Nehru came
Pandit
here to
Nehru
this place?
came after hours. Dad suggested, sir, please come once we close the door. And he came and selected books, and he was given a 20% discount. And Dad,
Like a lot of other people.
from the first day, he gave a 20% discount. And this was a man who used to carry books on his head to deliver books. So because those days, that's how Indians behaved also.
Yeah.
This is how our Indians were, very humble, very simple people. So, so what I'm saying is, from those sort of beginnings, he still stuck to his principles.
Yeah.
But Vidya, growing up, I'm sure growing up in the
Yeah.
household that you grew up in
Yes.
was very different from growing up how we did, definitely how I did. I
Yes.
grew up, reading after a certain point, but then for you, that was life.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was quite incredible, because I'll tell you something, the dinner time conversations were always at a very high level. Dad was always talking about higher things, about doing things with vision, about doing things for purpose, for a purpose, and doing, about lifting yourself to higher things.
Right.
So those are the sort of conversations we used to always have. So this is what he conveyed to the readers. And this is what I feel has actually touched their hearts so much, because this is not the exposure they may have had from their families, but when you have somebody who tells you, read the history of Scotland and just find out from there how different we are, and why should we be so different or something, because you're giving them a train of thought which they might have never thought about.
But what I want to understand is, as a young child,
Yeah.
growing up, studying here,
Yes.
your free time would have been spent here
Yes.
at the store.
Yes.
What's your fondest memory?
My fondest memory is taking a stack of Enid Blyton books and Dad saying that's a large stack, and I saying, no Dad, I'll get through it in no time at all.
Famous five.
Famous five.
Five find outers.
And five find outers and dog, I think.
Yes.
And the seven, the secret
Seven.
seven. Yeah, all those, and more. And the thing is, he said, look, Vidyula, he used to call me Vidyula, read them very carefully. This is how you turn the pages without spoiling the book, and you bring them right back.
No donkey ears.
Yeah, no dog ears.
dog ears.
He said because we don't want a bookshop in the house. You have a bookshop to take books
here.
from. Exactly. You don't need a library in the house. So you just take the books and read and bring them back. So imagine having that sort of recourse to that.
And Vidya, it's interesting because Alex was talking about growing up, and I grew up in the vicinity, and for me and my brother, my family, some of our fondest memories are here in Strand. And there was something that your dad did as well, which I think a lot of schools and a lot of school kids in the area have benefited from over the years, and it's been perhaps the most exciting memory for us, which was that if we won awards in school, if the general proficiency, if you did well in school, well, we used to get a voucher from Strand and we could come and redeem it over here, which was perhaps the most exciting thing that you
Yes,
could do in a
yes.
way. It still happens?
It happened till last month.
Yeah.
From Campion School, I believe that's your school.
That's right.
It's happened from Cathedral School, which is again my school. It's happened from Hindi Vidya Bhavan, which is another school which has done it over the years. So in the sense, it's still happening. And another school rang us up last week, and I had to say no, because I knew that it was happening and we needed to close.
Yeah.
So yes, it still happens, but not to the same degree anymore.
That it did. But you've had a lot of books going out in the recent past, understandably so.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
but it's been tough, I would think.
Yes, it has been tough because the whole the culture scape is changing.
Yeah.
The culture scape has changed. I think all of us who have any connection with the book industry have actually been studying the turbulence for the last few years. So, which way will the dice fall? You see, nobody knew. But I feel I've got some sort of a fix on it. I feel that it's not only online, because online in fact doesn't seem to be doing as well anymore as they were, book sales. People like hard copies, they like reading a hard copy book rather than on internet or through the Kindle. But even then, the convenience of a Kindle or the convenience of an e-book will slowly sort of has made an inroad somewhere, has made an inroad. So the thing is, it's a small percentage of the books you may read in that form at the moment. But going forward, if that percentage increases, depending on the generation that person belongs to, then obviously then it becomes more and more entrenched. That is one thing. The other thing is, don't forget, we are the newly globalized Indian. Newly globalized India has become a very exciting place. Let me tell you, even in the West now, in Europe, I do not find the kind of ferment, the cultural ferment that is happening here. And we all visit occasionally, we see the West, which was always the place to see an exciting play and come back. Yeah, or a good music concert, because and then remember it for the whole year.
Yeah, Broadway.
Yeah, right. For the whole year, you feel your sense buds have been satisfied. But no longer. Here you've got theatre, you've got music programs, you've got top artists and maestros visiting. You've got IPL.
Yeah.
You've got, Wimbledon, tennis. You've got cricket matches all year round. There's so much to enjoy and take in. So it's not only the written word against the written word anymore. It's the written word against any of these. And who says these are not valid? Who says, just look at this visual, for instance. This actually demonstrates, in some ways, the interdisciplinary way we are viewing the world. Yes, you can take in nature, you can look at technology, and you can do so many things with it. You can do so many things with it. So I'm not saying that this must replace the written word or a bookshop, but I'm saying inevitably there is some sort of a shift happening. And I do not know how shifts are governed, because it's not individuals. Individuals obviously can hold back a bit or go forward with it. But on a mass scale, I don't know what propels it.
But Vidya, has it been very difficult over the last few years, considering how, especially the generation after us, and perhaps Alex in my generation, has been addicted to iPhones and Kindles.
Because now you have the application as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Kindle application on your phone.
Absolutely. Now, isn't that intellectually stimulating? The sort of apps you get, the sort of inroads you can make into knowledge, the sort of through this you go into something else, through that you go into something else. This itself is stimulation. So our intellects are getting used to a much wider culture scape, or a much wider way of getting information.
But then we're missing out on perhaps the outdoors. We're missing out on experiences like this, coming to a bookstore. All over India there are fantastic bookstores where people used to perhaps meet, socialize, go to coffee shops and around. We're missing out on that. That is, and perhaps iconic shops like this are bringing their shutters down.
Yeah.
considering how things have changed over the years.
Right. See, the only thing I can say here in terms of, instead of seeing it as a lament,
Yeah.
I would say let's try and look at it in a positive way,
Okay.
because the adda, the place,
Yes.
the place to meet and speak about high-minded things,
Yes.
could be your Lit Fest, could be the coffee shop at the Lit Fest, so things change and new venues
Open. Yes. So it's adaptation, it's movement
Yes.
of, and at some point you have to take a call and say,
Yes,
this
yes.
is what you have to do.
This is what you have to do, and how will I do it to the maximum. It's like you could have come here and browsed through art, literature, as well as science.
Right.
Okay, because we kept everything. You could even look at children's books and have a giggle about the pig. But the thing is, you can do the same now in other ways. So the thing is to learn intelligently how to manipulate the environment you're living in,
Yeah.
to sort of maximize this experience, I feel. And also, we are the bridging generation. You all are not the bridging generation, but between you and, say, me and my dad, there's a bridging generation who uses hard copy books as well as has started learning to use the, iPad and the iPhone and all that.
Yeah.
So they're using both, they're enjoying both. You all will probably be able to use technology far more efficiently, and this will slowly you'll have to let go of it. But while saying that, the two could coexist to some extent, 100%.
Very, very
Yeah.
interesting thoughts, and that's a very positive take
Yeah.
that you've given us, Vidya. But and this I have to ask you, because for all Strand bookstore fans,
Yes.
this is perhaps the last few days, and it must be a very emotional moment for you. I mean,
It is an emotional moment, but the thing is, I have gone through hoops of fire in the last few years. So when you've done that and you've tried everything, then you're able to actually justify some of your actions, and not, therefore, you have overcome some of this emotional thing. Yeah. Exactly, you've overcome it. I've overcome my emotional trauma. While saying that, I've been tearful yesterday and day before. But those are the only 2 days I've really been a bit tearful. I'll probably get more tearful in the next coming days. But the point is, I am ready to let go, because this has been very, very heavy on my back. It has been exceedingly heavy, and I've dealt with it almost single-handed.
Yeah.
So the thing is, single-handed apart, even if there were 5 people dealing with it, we still have to deal with it. Yeah. So the thing is, it means that there is a change, and accepting that change, as we say for any change, is the key, isn't it?
absolutely. Thank you so much, and good luck for the future.
Thank you so much, and for taking the time to come here and to record this. And I would be very grateful to be able to see this myself
Absolutely.
up on the web.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
आइसक्रीम खाएगी?
आइसक्रीम? ये है डबल आनंद। पहला आनंद पॉलिसी टर्म के अंत पर मैच्योरिटी क्लेम का पूरा भुगतान, और दूसरा आप